Hi, everyone. This is Anastasia, president of U.S. Harbors, and I'm really happy to be here today with Kristen Frohnhoefer. She is the president of SeaTow, which all of us love and rely on to be safe on the water. It's like, basically, it's like a AAA for boaters, I think. Is that right, Kristen?
Absolutely. One of our trademarks is your road service at sea. We've been around for a while. We're there to help boaters should the unexpected happen on the water. And I'm delighted to be here today. So thank you for having me, Anastasia.
Well, we're really glad to talk to you. We have actually quite a few of your franchisees, otherwise known to us as captains, listed on our website. And so it's great because our users have access to their locations and can reach them directly. So we love that. And we hope to, even expand further so that people have the support they need when they're at sea. It's a big challenge because Coast Guard stations are far and few between. So I didn't realize it until we started connecting that SeaTow is actually a family business, and that is fascinating. So I really like to hear more about the whole history of it and how you got involved.
Absolutely. SeaTow was actually founded by my parent. My father, Captain Joe, is the founder of SeaTow. Back in 1983, he learned that the Coast Guard was no longer going to provide non-emergency assistance to boaters anymore. And having always been someone who was on the water, wanted to make his living on the water, he seized an opportunity and started SeaTow. Obviously, I grew up with the business. My mother was deeply involved. When they say, there's a woman who makes a lot of things happen behind the scenes, that was my mother, Georgia. And to this day, she's still involved in the business. I have a younger brother as well, only 4 years younger. And we grew up in SeaTow. So we grew up answering calls on the radio, dispatching, taking membership calls. We've kind of done it all. And most recently, my brother and I both came back full-time to the business in about 2002, 2003, where we continue to work our way up. And now we are CEO and president of SeaTow International after my father passed away, unfortunately, about 6 years ago. But mom is still involved on a daily basis, and we're still a family-owned private business, as are all of our local franchises.
So that is great. I really get the feeling that the SeaTow franchisees also think of themselves as a group that's super well connected family-wise. So you guys are international now? I mean, it's not just in the United States, you're in other countries too?
So we do operate within the continental United States. We have SeaTow in Alaska as well as one of our most rapidly growing franchises. SeaTow Puerto Rico is one of our largest franchises, also servicing the Virgin Islands. We service the Bahamas. And then we do have SeaTow Europe. They do operate independently. So the SeaTow Europe is its own independent organization.
Very cool. So tell me a bit about what it takes to be running a big national, international company in a very male-dominated industry. I have to be honest that I have not yet met a female SeaTow captain. You must have them.
We do. We have several female SeaTow captains. It is not as many as I would like, but we have some fantastic ones. One of our franchise owners down in Sebastian, Florida, Captain Amy. She's owner and captain. We've got several in Connecticut. I love this story. In Galveston, Texas, they actually did a training program, and they brought some interns on, and now one of them is a full-time captain. We have someone else who's training to be, down in Key Biscayne. So there's, these are just off the top of my head, some of the women captains we have, but they're out there and they're just as good. And I think what it is all of us women in the marine industry just have a thick skin, and we're just used to demonstrating our abilities. I will say it's not the same industry it was 20 years ago. And you've probably seen that as well. I don't think there's that male domination that there used to be. I think there are more opportunities for women. We see more women supporting each other and helping each other grow within the industry. And I think everyone's proven themselves as very talented and capable, no matter what they're doing in the industry.
I totally agree with that. When I'm at boat shows now, I see many more. For example, I
Mhm.
see many more women on the docks in management positions and things like that. And it's
Absolutely.
great. I mean, used to be when you went to a boat show, you'd see the women in the short skirts advertising the boats and the guys were
Exactly.
like
And the
selling
bikinis and everything
everything.
else. Not anymore. I think there's a lot more respect for everyone across the board.
Yeah. And the other thing is that like being on the water is a skill that is learned. And really anyone can learn that skill. And
Absolutely.
but one of the most important things and one of the biggest challenges is safety. And that is you guys. You guys understand safety really well. So can you speak about what you're seeing in the industry in terms of trends around safety? I mean, there's been such a huge growth. We've seen, triple our audience in the last couple of years. So we know that everyone is out on the water.
You know, the pandemic, while horrible in so many ways, got people realizing how wonderful it is to spend time on the water with their family and friends. And with that, we've seen the growth as well. We've seen growth even on our SeaTow Foundation end. We do run a not-for-profit safety foundation, and SeaTow itself as a whole brand promotes safety. And we've seen people engaging, just like you have, whether it's getting a SeaTow membership to know they have a friend on the water, it's wearing life jackets and borrowing them from one of our life jacket loaner stations. We've been really trying to communicate with people about the new law about engine cutoff devices. That any vessel 26 feet and under, you should be wearing that engine cutoff device while the boat is on plane and underway, and help support that effort to get word out there. Our foundation is launching a whole campaign to encourage people to utilize electronic flares. So e-flares is another trend that we're seeing, replacing traditional flares with an e-flare. And we're, obviously we promote a huge sober skipper program as well, encouraging people to have that dedicated person on the water, on the boat, to be able to handle the boat and stay sober all day long so that you can go out and have fun. Because that trend of, it's not even a trend, it's just boaters are very serious about getting on the water. It's the freedom. Your blood pressure goes down when you go out on the water. They're having fun with their family. We encourage people to have fun, but do it responsibly. And I think we're going to continue to see that continue over the next couple of years as more and more people stay out on the water.
Absolutely. So you guys must have seen big numbers go up for rescues and things like that with these numbers of boaters. Were there challenges responding to that demand?
We joked that 2020 every day was Saturday, because everyone was out in 2020 and 2021. It didn't matter day of the week. Every day was Saturday. Our local franchise teams were on call more than ever before, and they handled it. They were out there. They were able to be responsive. Like everyone else, we also struggled with some staffing challenges, but our captains made it happen, and we were able to take care of everyone. They were very tired, I will say, at the end of 2020, 2021. The good news is we're seeing that turn around a little bit more now, with being more people being available for work. We're starting to see some of that staffing ease up a little bit.
That's great. And on an average on a weekend in can you give us like one location where we might have a sense of how many rescues might be done on a weekend? Is there like any kind of average that we would think?
Well, generally across the country, no matter where you are, the average case of on-water assistance is about 2 hours long. So take any day, divide it up. You can only tow so many at a time. Some of our franchise locations might have 6 or 8 boats out on the water at any given time. Other locations might be smaller on a lake. More rural area might have 1 or 2 boats out at a time. And they keep going all weekend, 24 hours a day, evenings, nights. Again, as soon as that you sit down for dinner, that's when the phone's going to ring. On busy weekends, our captains are just out patrolling all the time, and they just keep going. So in busy metro areas, they're going to be constantly servicing customers all weekend long. We handle tens and tens of thousands of jobs a year to help boaters on the water.
So have you been on a lot of rescues too? I mean, since you grew up in the business, you must have been on quite a few rescues yourself.
So the funny part is I've been on some calls, but my expertise, and this is one of the great things about working with my brother, is my expertise has always been more in the office for whether it's our membership, our call center, marketing, PR, communications, technology. That's more my forte. My brother handles more of the operations on the water with our franchise locations. Um, and since I work at corporate, we're not on a boat every day. However, that said, I have been out on tows, and that it's always a good thing to be out there and experience what our captains are going through, what the customer is going through, to be able to empathize and improve that customer experience over the long run.
So you have a background in education. I read that on your CV, and I'm curious how that plays into the work that the foundation does and the direction that you see the company going and the overall landscape that you are working in.
So I grew up with all these family businesses, and SeaTow was just one of them. So I did go after college and worked for 10 years as a teacher. I taught Spanish and French, team lead, etc., and got my master's degree in education and administration as well. And it's been very useful. Um, the tools and how to break down information, how to present it to people, how to get them to understand it, how to communicate effectively, all play into everything, whether it's in my day-to-day work with our customer experience and customer relations, to PR and communications, working with our foundation, looking at how we can put educational materials out, and having that extra pair of eyes to look at it from a curriculum development standpoint, or useful tool, or how to work with children. Um, it's been very helpful from that front. And obviously speaking Spanish doesn't hurt.
Um, so do you see a lot of challenges with communicating about marine safety? I will say that we have a close relationship with your foundation, and we communicate with them a lot and love the programs and try to promote your programs. But do you see a lot of challenges with the new audiences that have come to boating to communicate with them about safety?
I think the challenge, whether it's an existing or new boater, is that there seems to be something that switches in your brain when you step out on the water, that this is my freedom and all rules don't apply. But rules need to apply. Driving a boat is not the same as driving a car. Water and the situation can change very quickly. You can't necessarily trust that everyone knows the rules of the road on the water. So I think the hard part in communicating is just getting people to hear it and know that they need to implement certain things. Why wear a life jacket on the water? Why have your engine cutoff switch? Why have a sober skipper? Boating is freedom. Boating is fun. But it's just hard to get people to listen. And how do you reach that audience? That said, it is working. I think if you look at the Coast Guard stats, boating is an inherently, it's very safe. There's been a lot of tools put in place. We just want to try to reduce those, fatalities and accidents down to nothing would be delightful. But most people do have a great day on the water. But I think the key is just repeating those messages over and over and trying to change the cultural norms.
So there's a big difference between just boating safely and having a big accident, right? Like,
absolutely.
And also that's just like, okay, maybe you run out of gas or something, like, which would be the best case scenario for a SeaTow to come rescue you, as long as you're not near rocks. But these kind of really intense accidents is the trend usually around, people are drinking, or what is driving that kind of stuff?
It's usually alcohol related, or it's impaired activity. If you do look at the Coast Guard statistics for boating accidents, fatalities, the primary contributing factor is alcohol. And it's, again, most people are responsible on the water, but this is why we promote having a sober skipper, because it would help save so many lives. of not running into the rocks, not running into the jetties, boats not flipping over, taking wakes poorly, paying attention to what's going on. Everyone loves to watch all those videos of everyone going through the inlets and the boats, people being thrown out of the boats and everything else, but this is not safe. This is what we want to prevent. So I think if we could just, make sure we have a sober skipper on every boat, and we could prevent some of those fatalities and accidents that, potentially could give boating a bad name when really it should be a fun activity for a family.
And do you think that there should be licensing and more rules like we have for driving cars for boaters?
I believe everyone should have education. I know. So I actually live in New York, and New York has Brianna's Law, and as of 2025, everyone in New York who operates a boat will need to have taken a course. If we could just get past that step of everyone just take a course. I do think from a boating under the influence standpoint, there should be some stricter laws that it should tie back to your license in every state. It should tie back to, it can't just be a slap on the wrist. There needs to be some consequence for that. And that's my personal feeling. But I think education is the key, and everyone should really if everyone just took it upon themselves, we wouldn't have to have rules and regulations and requirements for it if everyone was just responsible that way.
Totally. I totally agree with you. And of course, again, that freedom thing comes in.
Exactly.
I'm a boat owner and I feel so free when I get out on my boat, and I love it. But it is really, it really is putting a burden on the rescuers, if we don't act as responsible boaters. And also on the people that we're with, we really have a responsibility to that, keeping them safe also.
Absolutely. And a lot of safety too is also just being courteous on the water. Is when everyone would wave at each other, the boat goes by, you're waving at each other, you're making sure everyone's passing with enough room, you're not waking people. Again, I think if we just brought back a lot more courtesy on the water, watching your wake, making sure that you're keeping your distance, communicating with others, waving at others. Boating should be a big family. Boaters are in this together. We're a very dedicated group.
And it is a family. It's definitely a family feeling. That's the way our U.S. Harbors audience really feels like a family, and
absolutely
really dedicated and committed to each other and committed to sharing resources. And really, it's great. And I feel like your captains really give that sensibility off too when they're super supportive. Like all the ones that I've ever talked to have such a nice demeanor and very very super professional and know what they're doing, but also understanding what everybody is working with. And so, of course, they're boaters themselves, so they get it.
Absolutely. And our captains pride themselves on being a resource in the local community. They are professionals at what they do. This SeaTow is their primary business or only business. They're dedicated to it. We say they bleed yellow. And that's the great part is they know their local waterways. So you have a friend in every port. We have members who travel up and down the coast or go from lake to lake, and they'll call up the local SeaTow captain and be like, hey, I'm coming for the day. What do you recommend from a dockside restaurant? Or where's a marina I could go get a slip? Or hey, are there any discounts in my local area? Where's the best anchorage for me? They know all that, and they're your friend in that port. When you're a SeaTow member, we take care of each other, and we like to think of our members as part of our family.
So speaking of that, we don't have very many SeaTows up here in Maine, and we have only a few Coast Guard stations. So I'm curious, what are you seeing in terms of expansion possibilities and trends, and how does that look in terms of geo areas?
Well, SeaTow does cover the majority of the high traffic boating areas at this point. In Maine, we do cover all the way up to Booth Bay, and north of that area, there's just not a lot of population. But we will, we are expanding over time. We're, always looking to add new locations. Pacific Northwest is a big area of growth we'd like to build into. There's definite opportunity there for anyone who's interested in becoming a SeaTow franchise. We're also seeing more growth on inland lakes and rivers.
That's cool. We also just started covering the Great Lakes, which is just like the hugest boating audience ever. And you guys have a big presence in the Great Lakes, do you?
Not at this moment, but we do service our members there through alternate providers.
Oh, great. Oh, so people can join SeaTow and
Absolutely.
they'll get,
You still call us at the 800 number. We still can provide service in the Great Lakes. We do it through alternate providers, and we reimburse you up to $5,000 per incident with no annual limit. So we're there to help anyone, no matter where they're boating.
so it's super like AAA then. Yeah, it's like that
Absolutely.
same.
We're nation. I mean, with our gold card membership, you're covered nationwide on all fresh and salt water. With our elite card membership, you're covered on all fresh water anywhere but the state of Florida.
Oh,
It's Florida, you need our gold card.
well, I'm sure there's a lot of demand for your services in Florida.
Absolutely.
Um, so what is your take on the trends and the future of boating?
Obviously, fuel is a big concern right now, fuel prices. However, what we've seen in the history of SeaTow, when fuel prices spike, people still go boating. Boaters are dedicated. They're going out on the water. Even if it's just heading right out of the port and anchoring and spending the day nearby, they're heading out and using their boats. So we've tended to see in the past when fuel prices are very, very high, people stay closer to home, but they're still out there boating. They're not going to stop that trend. We're not going to see people haul their boats out. We're not going to see that, but we are going to see people being cautious about what they're spending on fuel this season. It definitely am intrigued to see what happens in a couple of years with all the new entrants to boating. That is a concern that I have personally. Is everyone going to stay in boating? We've seen such tremendous growth in the past 2 years. What can we as an industry do to help keep those people in boating and experience the wonderful lifestyle that we all have on the water? We don't want to see those people selling their boats or getting out of boating because they've had a bad experience. So I think those are two worries. That's a worry I think I have.
Yeah, it's going to be, it's tricky. Everybody's trying to figure out how to keep up and not get too far ahead and yet, address the issues because there's, with all those new boaters, you don't know what they'll do down the road.
Yeah, well, and I think the struggle right now is, we want the experience to be great for these new boaters, and the industry is working so hard to make that happen. But because of supply chain issues, it's hard to get parts to get the boats repaired, which becomes frustrating. Because of service tech shortages, there's such an opportunity for people. Anyone who wants to work as a service tech and work on engines and everything else, great career opportunity in the marine industry right now. Because of that shortage, service times are longer. These could be frustrating experiences for people. Again, on a holiday weekend, with so many people out on the water, if our captains are backed at 4, 5, 6 hours, we're taking care of our members first. If you're not a member, it might take longer to get on water assistance. We all need to work together to reduce these frustrations of boating and keep everyone happy and out there on the water.
So actually, I was going to ask you that question. If you are not a member and you run into an issue, say you run out of gas or something like that, can you still use SeaTow services?
Yeah. So if you are a member of SeaTow, you get priority service. So we cover certain benefits under your membership. You get priority service over non-members. So you always go to the front of the line or above anyone who's not a member. But if you're not a member of SeaTow, you can still call us. We do service non-members all the time. You just pay hourly rates. However, it can be very expensive, whether it's us or anyone else in the on-water assistance industry. The average on-water assistance is 2 hours or more, and depending where you're on the country, that could range from $750 to $900 just for that service. It's a very expensive proposition, which is why an investment in membership, our gold card's only $199 a year, is a great investment. If you even use services on the water once every 5, 10 years, it pays for it. And you've got so many other benefits of membership. So you can absolutely still call us at our 800 number, but as a non-member, you will pay out of pocket, you will pay the hourly rates, and you don't get priority service.
Well, it's still super important because the Coast Guard, we love them, but they just can't they can't cover everything we need.
Well, and they're responsible for, and the Coast Guard was, reallocated to using their resources to emergency situations, search and rescue,
Hmm.
in which they do a great job of, and that's where the resources should be.
Right. And you guys must work pretty closely with the Coast
Absolutely.
Guard. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with them?
Absolutely. We've worked very closely with the Coast Guard for years and years. One of the things talk about, the history of the marine assistance industry. I remember growing up, and my father was actually on the advisory council for the Coast Guard to write all the rules for the marine assistance industry. So I actually remember going to congressional hearings growing up and everything else. So I grew up within this, and we've always maintained a very close relationship with the Office of Search and Rescue. We're their partners on the water, just as they're our partners on the water. When an emergency situation does pop up, our captains will divert to go help those other mariners. Um, if they're there to help. So if there's a boat overturned, there's people in the water, and our captains can get on scene first. We're going to get on scene, help those people, and when the Coast Guard arrives, we'll work with them as needed. It's definitely definitely a partnership out there.
That's great. It's really heartening to know that people are actually looking out for this huge community of us that is getting out in the
Absolutely.
water and really hopefully learning what we're doing before we take any risks out there. But it's good to know that there's that support in the back. So is there anything else about your business or your personal involvement in this industry that you think that people should know that they may not know?
Oh man. I think it's important for people to know that SeaTow is a family business, and we treat our members as if they're family. Um, it's not unusual for my brother to hop on a boat and tow someone, just to get out there and experience it. So, and you end up with the CEO of the company providing your service on the water. It's not unusual for me to get on the phone and, handle a customer interaction. We're all hands on deck. We're here dedicated to you just as our captains are as well. They're highly invested in their local communities. They're there to support boaters and help you have a great experience on the water. Our mission is to help people enjoy their day. So if we can get you back underway quickly, if we can help you prevent a mishap, we're going to do it. I think it's critical that people have an on-water assistance plan. Obviously, we hope that's a SeaTow membership. And we're here to help. That's what we do.
That's great. Well, it has been such a pleasure meeting you, Kristen. So I hope that we'll be in touch in the future. And
absolutely,
please let us know, continue to let us know. I know the folks at your foundation communicate with us frequently, and this is a shared mission to keep our community safe and resilient and working with a wonderful ocean and coastal community. So thanks again for all your work in this area, and I'll look forward to the next time.
Thank you so much for having me, Anastasia. I really appreciate it.